Well,
This meeting is being recorded.
okay, I want to. I'm sorry that I'm not on camera right now. If people want to use their cameras, please do so. So, because this is a face sharing questions, we see everyone's faces. The only reason why I'm not is I'm on my other computer that the camera for some strange reason does not sync up, but it's a faster speed because I wanted to make sure we didn't lag when because I'm actually running this tonight. So, welcome to our first ever photo editing 101 night. And I want to start things off. This was kind of an idea I had a couple years ago when I noticed we kind of didn't have just a casual night just to learn how to edit. And a lot of people have mentioned to me over the years that that's something that they would like to see more of. So, with the success of the digital diner over the last 2 years, and becoming president this year, I said, okay, this is my goal to see if I can get, people in the club interested in doing something like this. And I approached John, and he was gracious and thought about it, and he contacted Sam, and the two of them worked their magic and said yes. So this is the result of that. So I'm really excited. This is more casual than it is very regimented. So you have questions you can ask. We're going to share. You're going to be asked to share and work on stuff. This isn't a presentation where you sit back and watch. You're going to participate as well. That's what John and Sam both want to have done. So, further ado, I'm going to hand off the meeting to both John and Sam, and and enjoy.
Thanks, Barb. Sam, I'll start. So yeah, we got to think about how we're going to work along with this, but I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to start with a bit of Lightroom on the first image, which is my grandson, and show you how to remove a few things that are distractions, I guess. We don't see the one guy we need, Alan. We don't see Alan yet, Barb. I guess she's not listening. Anyway, so without further ado, let me share my screen. So can everyone see?
Yes.
Everybody can see the image? Okay.
Yes.
If I can minimize this a little bit. Sorry, I'm just checking out how to minimize the Zoom window as much as possible. Because it's covering part of my tools. And that's not going to work. Just bear with me for a second. Okay. I think that's the bare minimum I can get. So I'll put it down here, there. Okay, sorry about that. So in Lightroom, we'll go to the develop module, and there are a lot of bright spots in the eyes and in his mouth that are a bit of a distraction. So I'm just going to use the spot removal tool. And now I know not everyone uses Lightroom. Some of you are more just Photoshop, and some of you are just Affinity Photo, and perhaps just other things. So for Photoshop and Affinity Photo, we'll try and get to we will get to those things after we do a bit of Lightroom. For the other apps, if you're working along, if you're working along in Photoshop or something else right now, we can answer any questions you have about those as well. So I'm just going around with the spot removal tool and clicking on these bright spots. Use the bracket keys to change the size of the brush. And I think that's cleaned them up pretty good. Now, not only does it or can it remove spots, but it can also add one if you'd like. So I'd like to copy over this window reflection that's in his left eye. And I think I'll put it right about here. See the spot that's being copied over, it's this one. So I'll just drag it over to where I want it. And I think that's okay. I use the H key to hide the spots. Down the bottom here, you can choose how you want that want those overlays to work. And I just choose never and just hit the H key, which is the keyboard shortcut to show or hide the overlay.
You're going way too fast, John.
Okay, I'll give you a minute to catch up, you.
No, you're going way too well. Like the shortcuts, I don't know Lightroom with that, and I don't know any shortcuts. So I have,
okay.
Basically, I don't have too much idea what you've done so far.
So far, I've used the spot removal tool, this tool here, to remove the bright spots in his mouth and in his eyes.
Yeah, I've seen that. But when you were saying you enlarge and you reduce using the bracket or whatever?
The brush, yes. So to enlarge or reduce any brush in virtually any of these apps, it's the two bracket keys, upper right on your keyboard.
Okay. Okay.
And if you, excuse me, as far as I'll give you another keyboard shortcut. If you want to change the feathering, of course, you can move the slider, but you can also hold the shift key and use the bracket key to change the amount of feathering.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and then the one other keyboard shortcut, which is the H key, which shows the overlay of where you've removed something and what it's being replaced with. So if I choose this spot here that I, removed or replaced it, it will show me where it was chosen from.
Is that like cloning, John?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
The simplified clone tool, it actually has two settings, clone and heal.
Okay. So I don't use Photoshop. That's why I'm interested. Okay. So that's like cloning in the other programs. Okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I don't know who that was. Was that you, Jim?
No, it wasn't me, but I do have another question. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get the spot removal tool up. I've got the basic, I see a tool with a Band-Aid on it.
That's it. That's the spot removal tool. So this is an older version of Lightroom. That's what it looked like in this version. In the latest version, yes, it looks like a Band-Aid.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's called painting in Affinity.
You can use the inpainting brush to do it in Affinity, yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you can use the inpainting brush or you can use the clone brush, and we'll use the clone brush in Affinity once we get done with these couple of things
That's
in
fine, not a
Lightroom.
problem. No.
Any other questions?
Sorry, I'm sorry, I got a little lost there because of that tool. Can you go through it relatively quickly again, just one more time? If that's
no
okay with
problem.
everybody?
No problem, Jim. So you've selected the Band-Aid.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm zooming in with the Z key here. It zooms, in this case, it's zooming it into 2:1. And all the spots that I've replaced are showing here, and I
Okay.
can show or hide those with the letter H on the keyboard.
Right, okay. And then when you're selecting the area that you're cloning from, is it like you hold on the Option key to click down?
No, you don't have to. So this app works like InPainting and Affinity in that it chooses pixels that it thinks are close to the surrounding pixels of what you're trying to replace. So it's picking the spot for you. And if you don't like what it chose, then you can move the spots. Oops. So let's pick one here. If I pick this one, yeah, it's chosen from the iris part of his eye, and it should. So I can move it anywhere that I want to replace those pixels with.
Okay.
Um,
And you're not holding down any modifier key, you're just
no,
clicking.
just click and drag with the mouse.
I have a question, John. What if the, oh, sorry about the dog. What if the choice is off the screen? I've had that happen more than once.
Yeah, is that Dave Hansen?
Sorry, Dave Hansen here.
Yeah, okay. And I'm sorry because all I can see is my screen and Neru, that's all. So yeah, if it picks something off of the screen, just zoom out and move it.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're at the edge of the image and for whatever reason, I don't know how it does it or why it does it. It chooses I know it sounds strange and not likely, but I can't find where it's chosen.
Okay. So down the bottom here, you can choose how to show the overlay of where it's chosen. So you
Okay,
could, so if you just chose, say, selected,
right.
it will just, see, now it only shows the spot I'm working on, the one that was last selected. And so if I can move it anywhere that I want it to, I want to choose these pixels to replace that spot.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay, so John,
yes,
I must have a different version of Lightroom that you have, but I
That's
cannot see that symbol that you have there and that you're
Yeah,
using.
yeah, you don't. It's the Band-Aid, Hugh.
So healing.
It's the Band-Aid, and does it show you this window here? I believe it does somehow. Clone, heal, size of the brush, feather, and opacity.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have a clone. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so choose clone. In this case, feathering is 0. Opacity, I didn't have it at 100, but it should be 100.
And feather should be 0?
Yes, on these ones that are small enough, I leave the feathering at 0, and because I wanted to choose pixels from within his eye that I'm replacing, it doesn't, it's not going to have a lot of latitude, so I don't need a lot of feathering.
Right.
Excuse me. Okay, everyone's okay? we'll
Yes,
move
thank
on a
you.
little bit.
Mhm.
So the one other thing I like to do in an image like this, where you have the person's eyes, is to enhance those eyes a little bit. And his right eye is a little bit darker than his left eye, as it should be, but I think it could stand to be brightened up just slightly. So I'll take an exposure brush. Got a, you know, a little bit more exposure on it. What are my brush settings? Size is pretty small, but the feather's about 40%. That could be a little bit more, and the flow settings and the density are both at 100, so that's fine. And I just want to make the brush a little bit bigger.
John, I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I get very confused with the brush, which I think now doesn't exist anymore in the latest versions. I think it's a mask or something.
Yes, it's a mask.
So okay, so when you use the adjustment brush, do you pick the settings you want before you click the brush, or after when the brush is hovering to the area that you want to make changes to?
No, I set the brush beforehand.
Okay,
So this is the brush tool in this version.
right.
And so once I select it, I have this menu of brushes that I can use.
Okay,
But really, it's still just one brush. I could change any of these settings afterwards, after I've made the selection or the mask.
and if you want more exposure after you set that initial brush, do you just move the sliders around, or do you have
Yes,
to?
yes. So
Okay.
let's just see that.
Okay, thank you.
So
Celia,
again,
in the new version, when you create the mask with your brush, your sliders, you can move them before or after. It'll only affect the masked area that you created.
Okay. Yeah, I have to practice on the new version. Thanks.
yeah, it's so Celia, you had this version before. It's still the same sort of thing, but the way the interface looks has changed. So now your masks or brushes, if you used multiple brushes, are listed like layers, more or less. Right, so I'm just going to make one click here. And I'll zoom in a little bit and see if it's, you can see that, okay, I had it set for whatever, but you can change it afterwards to whatever you like.
So can you see the actual mask?
If you want, yes. So on this version, and I'll bet the keyboard shortcuts are the same for that one. The letter O shows me the mask.
Gotcha, okay.
O for overlay.
Mhm.
Yes, it's the same now.
So I've just increased the exposure on that. Just very slightly. And so I want to use another brush, which is one that comes with the program, Iris Enhance. And you can see here what it does. So it's a preset brush. It's going to make an exposure adjustment, clarity, and saturation. And so I just want to paint this onto the iris. And I don't need a lot of feathering. So I'll just do both eyes. And don't worry, people who aren't using Lightroom or whatever, if you're just using Photoshop or Affinity or some other, let's see, Elements. Kirk, you're using GIMP. I'm not sure, but there is some way to do this and that as well. We'll try and go over those as well. Right, Sam?
Well, I don't know GIMP, so I won't be
Oh,
doing.
no, you're not going to be doing GIMP. You're going to be doing
But
Photoshop.
I will be doing similar, but it's done differently in Photoshop.
Yep. So again, Celia or anyone else, you can adjust these sliders after you've made the mask. Or before, it doesn't matter. And I don't want this to be a super strong effect. I just want it to be just barely noticeable. Okay, any other questions on that? 3, 2, 1, no, good. Okay, so we can move on. The other thing that eventually I'll crop this image, but before I do that, I want to remove Mom's cheek and ear from behind the baby.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty tough to do in Lightroom because you're using a round brush and you'd have to get into the corners here and it's not going to work very well. So to do that, we'll move to Affinity Photo and to Photoshop. So let me just stop sharing for a moment. Did Alan show up?
Alan's here, yes.
So Alan, we're going to use breakout rooms. Barb's already created one. So just the question is, how do you assign people to a room? Like, how do I guess that is my room. So then I have to get.
If you are host, you should be able to assign people to breakout rooms. Now you can have Zoom do it automatically, or you can actually manually move people.
Yeah, no, I have to do it manually because it's for people with different applications.
Now, honestly, I mean, I will stay with Photoshop or Lightroom. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm interested in seeing what Photoshop
That's right.
does.
So you're staying with Sam, and I'm taking some other people with me to
Okay. So
a
you need 2
room.
breakout rooms.
I think there's a pick tool, John, that when you click on the break room, you can
That's
select
right.
who goes
I
where.
can't see. John, can you make me co-host by any chance? Is that possible?
Let's
Might
hope
be-
Barb can.
Barb, okay.
But if you're the host, I think you can make Alan the co-host.
Okay, I'm a co-host. How do I do it, Alan?
Click on my name and you should be able to make me co-host, and we'll see if that works. I wonder if I can, probably can't sign in.
So Barb, you're not there? I'll find her.
Now, I'm just wondering if I can also log into the Zoom account myself. That's what I'm wondering. That might end up throwing everybody else out, so I don't want to do that.
John, if you know who's going to join your breakout rooms, all they have to do is click on the breakout room icon and click join.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you have to have 2 breakout rooms.
Because I see breakout rooms in progress.
Well, I don't see anything with that. I do
And
see
I
in progress.
see
I see John,
join.
just the one.
I think we're only going to use one breakout room. for
Yeah, you're just
John,
gonna
and
use
everyone
one
else
room?
will
All right,
stay
okay, well,
with me.
that's fine then. Then I guess whoever wants to join John.
Yeah,
will
then
join
just clicks
John.
join. Yeah.
So anybody that wants to join, so John, you're doing Photoshop. So if I wanted to see Photoshop, I would join you.
No,
I'm
I'm
gonna do
doing it.
affinities.
So okay, so I will stay in the main room then with
Yeah,
Sam.
you're just gonna stay in the main room, Alan.
That's fine, not a problem. So anybody that wants to join John.
So people coming with me will be Dave Hansen.
So if they click on breakout rooms at the bottom, then they can click on join, and they should be able to join you in your breakout room. Once you
So
open
yeah.
it up.
And I see that now.
Yeah, there's Hugh has joined you already.
Oh, sorry, John.
So I'm going to join, which means I'll go to the
That's right.
breakout room.
Yeah. So you're in now with John.
What is the breakout room?
Down at the bottom of this of your
I see
screen.
that, but is it
Click on breakout
Photoshop, the
rooms.
breakout room?
Just click on
No,
breakout rooms.
if you
and-
want Photoshop, stay here. I mean, stay
All right.
where we are.
Yes.
Are we joining now, John?
Yeah, so, yeah, you can join the room, Leslie, but the room hasn't been launched, so it
Yeah,
doesn't.
sorry, my mom had an issue. I had to run upstairs and I'm back now. Yeah,
Okay.
so if you're joining John, just click on the join button.
So that will be. Which people are those, Barb?
Well, you've got Gary, Hugh, Catherine, and Leslie in your room already.
So Dave, Leslie, Gary, Linda Smith. Alan, you want to start? I had you down because you're as an Affinity user. But
Yeah,
if you
no,
want-
that's fine. No, I'm quite familiar with Affinity. I'd rather see Photoshop. That's really why I'm joining tonight, to see how the difference between the two apps work.
Okay,
I would like to join Photoshop, so.
So we will
So
just
you're-
stay with Sam.
so you'll just stay there in the main room.
That's right, with
Right.
Sam.
So
Yeah.
Ian Ross and George Messer are both using Elements, and it is similar to Affinity. I can sort of.
I'm in which group?
Okay, well, John, you have to go join too because they're all sitting there now without you.
Oh, you've launched that room,
Well, it's working, so go.
and okay, and you got everybody else. Jeffrey Pierpont again. You know.
Don't worry too much about it, John. It'll work out.
Well,
That's how I look at things in life. It's a good experience anyways.
okay, I don't see. Okay, so I got to join that room.
Yeah.
Yes, join John Markle. Yes.
So I work with Photoshop. So I
And
just
he's
stay
gone.
put. I don't
Okay,
go
it
out.
should be now. Everybody else who's here is Photoshop or Photoshop Elements or anything like that, right?
Yeah. I'm with
Yes.
Sam.
Okay, then I think we've got the right people in the right room. So
Okay.
Sam, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going
Barb,
to
I
take
want
control.
Photoshop.
Then you're in the right room.
Thank you.
All right, so can everyone see John's grandson on the
Yes.
screen?
Yes.
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 Okay, good. Just want to make sure you're able to see my Photoshop.
This meeting is
So,
being recorded.
so I am using Photoshop 2023. So if you're not using that, you may see some differences. So, you know, if things aren't working, it may very well simply be that our versions are different. Okay, so this is the original picture. I have edited it already. I just want to give you a little tour of where we're going with this, and then we'll actually do it. So this is the original image. This is what we're going to turn it to. So the microwave is gone, or the vent is gone. The ear is gone. We fixed the eye. The spots in the mouth will be taken care of. I don't recall if there were any other changes, but we'll go along. Oh, and I also cropped the image, so we'll go for the ride. So
Sam, can I excuse you for a minute?
yeah,
Can I interrupt for a minute?
yeah.
So I had other people that I had down as Affinity photo people, and I only have 2 of them in the room. So are you all happy staying here with Sam? So there were a
Yes,
couple of,
Dave
I
Hanson
am,
here. I'm
yes,
not an
yes,
Affinity
I am,
person.
yes.
Okay, George Messer here. I'm staying with Sam.
okay, you're making it real easy for me.
Yeah.
Who-
What is, just to recap, Affinity is what? I know it's an image editing, but it's,
It's
who's it made by?
it's similar to Photoshop. It's a layers and masks type of editing application. So
Right.
it's similar to Photoshop. It's probably closer to Elements than it is to Photoshop
Right.
because it doesn't have the sophisticated selection methods that Photoshop does. And Photoshop's, you know, the tools are a little more refined, I think, than they are in Affinity, but for $56, it works just fine.
Right. And so the cost is a factor. And what's the difference between the Corel product and Affinity?
Those I don't know.
Okay.
Frank used to use the Corel products. Okay, so there's 2 people using Elements. You're okay here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and Jeffrey, you're okay here,
Yeah, I'm using CS6.
right? Which is closer to what I'm using because it this, the latest version of Photoshop has, you know, it's getting into the AI stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to that room and whip through this with them.
Okay. So why don't we start? The first thing I will do here is crop the image and straighten it, because if you notice, the cupboard is a bit on a slant. So we're just going to do that. So I'm assuming people are following along, so I will go as slow as I can. So just, you see the little square here on the left?
Yes.
And it says crop tool, just click on it. And then you should end up with a square of some sort. Pick the right ratio. I'm going to go with a 5:7. And you should see the crosses, you know, the rule of thirds squares in your image. And if your image fills the screen, you might want to do command minus to just be able to see more or less of it, so you can actually see the corners. So I'm going to go back to the full. So if your screen is full and you don't see the corners, just command, I'm on a Mac, so command minus. And honestly, I don't really know what it is on a PC. Can someone tell me?
Probably control.
Okay, control, sure.
Probably.
Okay, so does everybody see the grid over top of their image?
Mhm.
Grab a corner, say grab the top left-hand corner. Oh, sorry, don't do that yet. Hit your escape key. I wanted to do something before that. I jumped the gun, my apologies. I want to straighten the image. So at the very top, where you saw the aspect ratio, there's the word straighten with what looks like a little suitcase. Just click on that and then come down to your picture and you pick any straight line or any line that you want to use as a reference. So I'm going to use the corner of the cabinet and just grab one side and just come all the way down and follow the line that is crooked right now. Just go from top to bottom, release, and your image will now straighten itself. So that's part of the crop. All right, so what I'm going to do is purposely expand my image because I want to show you something. Normally I wouldn't do this. I'm going to move this around so that some of the frame, so I'm moving the corners around. Give me a second and I'll give you time to do the same as well. There you go. So I've moved my corners around and I've made the baby or the little youngster, I put them in the center. I got rid of some of the left side of the screen, but you'll notice on the right side, there's part of the image that I've included that actually isn't part of the image, that is not part of the photo. That's intentional because I wanted to show you something. So if you can make your crop look similar to mine, I'll give you guys a few seconds. Is anyone having trouble with this part? So we,
Did you
I
resize
am.
it?
sorry, who is that?
Okay, it's George. I'm having trouble getting my grid.
Oh,
I've
just
got,
click on the photo. It should show up.
no, I've got it, but I've got a horizontal grid on a vertical picture.
Okay, come up here. You see these double arrows? See my arrow? My mouse? Just click on those double arrows and the grid will flip. That work, George?
Got it.
Okay, so
Thanks.
can I assume can I assume that everyone's got the crop overlay looking similar to mine?
I got it close. I got a little more white rebate at the bottom than what you have. Did you
That's
resize
fine.
it at all? That's okay?
That's fine.
All right.
I mean, you can drag it up or down, but it'll, as long as you've got some of it so that you get that kind of checkered board within the frame, because we do want to use that later.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so once you've done that, hold on a sec, I've got a problem here. I'm gonna have to make my screen just a little, oops, I've gone and disappeared. Hold on a second. Photoshop. Unfortunately for me, where is it? Zoom. No. Give me a second. I've done something stupid on my end now. Where's Photoshop? Right there. Okay, you guys can't see me, can you? Or do you see anything?
We have a frozen screen that looks like it's going down a funnel.
Well, that's interesting.
At least that's what I have.
All right, rats, what did I do to myself? And things were going
Sam,
so well. Yeah.
unshare and reshare.
Okay. Except I don't see that.
Okay, hold on. Okay, now try again.
Okay. Okay, Barb.
Yep.
How do I get rid of the reason I got into this trouble? Wait a sec. Dash desktop, bridge cloud. Maybe I shut Photoshop down.
You froze your program?
There it is. Okay. I see bridge. I don't see Photoshop showing up in my list. That's my problem.
Did it crash?
No, I see it on my screen. I don't see it in the share window.
Well, I closed you down because you were frozen, so you're just gonna have to reshare it again.
That would be easier said than done, unfortunately. Let me just Photoshop. I see bridge. Okay, I'm going to close bridge, quit bridge, because it's just one thing in my way. Just bear with me, folks. I apologize.
No worries.
Well,
Most of the stuff happens. Trust me, Zoom is a great equalizer among people.
Okay, I'm just closing or minimizing everything so that. All right, so now Photoshop, where art thou? You know what? I'm going to force quit Photoshop.
Yeah, it sounds like it got an error or something. Because we saw a really funky looking thing on your screen.
Oh, okay. All right, Photoshop, where are you? Things were going so well. Oh, well. Force quit. Photoshop. Okay, so I've killed Photoshop. Let's start again.
Okay.
There it is, and it's back. All right, so let's come back. So yeah, I had to force quit Photoshop. I can't explain what happened. So now I have to find the Zoom meeting with the show logic on it. Okay, Barb, how do I get that?
I'm sorry. What are you having an issue with?
I want to get back to the screen whereby I can start showing things again?
Well, you should probably, you've probably minimized,
I probably did.
you've probably minimized the zoom. So at the bottom, you should have a little zoomy icon, a little blue with a white camera in it. If you double click on that, it should open up the big screen again, and then you can click on share again.
Oh, man. Zoom US. No. Man. Things are not going well. I apologize. Come on. Okay, I'm going to minimize Photoshop since I have it alive and well.
Okay.
And let's see Zoom.
Is it's not on your search at the bottom? Or a little tiny icon somewhere floating around?
Little blue icon.
Ha ha ha. There we go. Okay. We're back in business. It had minimized itself to the point where I couldn't see it. It had
Yeah,
other
it
stuff on
happens.
top of it. Okay, so let's move this along quickly. Let's Photoshop. All right, let's go back to Zoom and it doesn't show, Barb, I have Photoshop and Zoom, and I have you guys, and I go to share screen. Out there, it finally showed up. I had to do it again.
Okay.
All right, we're back in business.
Okay.
Okay. What an adventure. All right. I'm going to kill that there. All right. So let's actually do things again. So I appear to have lost my crop. So I'm going, let me go to, you're seeing a different workspace than most of you would see. So I'm going to go back to this version. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to crop. I'm going to bring this. Oh yeah, I was going to straighten first. So straighten. Just so I can catch up to you folks. There we go. I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring my corner out a bit. There you go. So, and I'm just going to bring that up a bit. So we're basically all at the same place. Barb?
Yep.
How do I get rid of, this is how I got into trouble. In the very top of my screen are the commands for Zoom, but they're covering my Photoshop commands. You know the big black bar?
Yeah.
It's on top of my commands, so I can't get to my Photoshop command.
You can slide them over to the left or the right. If you should get a little cross with arrows on it, and if you highlight it over the Zoom platform, you can slide it to the left or the right. So it should be off your screen.
No, it's just this big black bar. Oh, there it is. Okay, I moved it. All right. So if we're all at this point, click the check mark where you see my mouse button right now. Are we all good? So we all have a similar image with this checkerboard on the right-hand side. Is there anyone who does not have that?
The computer's still thinking.
Okay.
Sam, may I ask you a question? So
Yeah.
here you're working directly on the background layer, correct?
Well, all I did is a crop so far, but yes.
Right, but so, okay, I have a question because I thought it was best practices to always make a copy of the background layer before you did anything.
Not necessary because I use layers. So I'm not going to change my background layer. So having a background copy really doesn't serve any purpose other than creating a duplicate and adding more volume or weight to your PSD file.
But this will be destructive editing. If
I
you
haven't destructed anything because
No,
all
you
I've done is cropped, but I didn't delete any pixels.
but
It's
you
there.
see,
Sam, if you save it, you lose your original file.
No, because I'm saving it as a PSD. I'm not saving it as the original,
Okay.
as the original file. This is a whole new file when you save it.
So how do you save it as a
How do you
PSD?
save it?
When we go to File, Save As, it'll say, I'm going to go on my computer. So save to your computer. And right here where it says Format, you just put the word Photoshop in there and it's going to be a PSD. So it's not, in my case, I shoot Olympics, so it would be ORI, or I can't remember. But it's not going to save it as that. It's going to save it as a PSD.
Okay, well, we all started with a JPEG though, Sam. So I guess that's part of the
Okay,
confusion, remember?
but you're still,
So-
okay, so I started as a JPEG as well, but I'm not
Okay.
saving it as a JPEG. I'm
Right, right.
saving
No,
it as,
understood. I think that's part of the confusion that people are having.
yes. Yeah, we're not saving it as a JPEG. We're saving it as a Photoshop file in the end. So I'm not going to save it yet, but
If you're jumping from Lightroom into Photoshop and vice versa, when you go back to Lightroom after you've done something like this, it saves it as a TIFF.
that's right, which
With
is
all-
not your original file.
Right, so it hasn't changed the original Lightroom file then?
No,
Okay.
a TIFF is equivalent to the PSD file. It's just a generic format.
Okay.
It's
great.
not your, bottom line is it's not your original file. And even though I did a crop on my, well, it's called layer, but it's my background layer. Even though I did a crop, I didn't do a destructive crop, because you'll see up top here where it says delete cropped pixels. Please never check that. Because once you do, there's no going back. You will physically remove the pixels that you decided not to retain. I didn't have that checked, so I can go back in. In fact, I will do that for you. I will go back in, and you see my image still has the stuff that I chose to crop out. So if I want to expand this, I can do that. So that's why earlier on, Hugh, when you said it was destructive, it's not, because first off, I didn't click this. So please don't do that unless you have a compelling reason to.
Because we didn't know that mine was clicked, I guess, as a default, and I've lost it already.
Right, so
it's gone.
You take that off, because that really will bite you in your bum.
Okay.
You'll be sorry, because you can't go back and get these pixels when you want them.
That's right. It's already gone now.
Right. So you change your default so that's not on. Anyway, so let's keep going. So the first thing I want to do is I want to use Content Aware Fill, which is a Photoshop AI feature that actually builds pixels for you. And you don't have to do anything fancy other than say, please build the pixels for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the little rectangular marquee tool. So everybody sees what I'm pointing at on my screen.
Yeah.
I'm going to click it and then come over and simply about, I don't know, 10 pixels in or so, just go over and highlight that area. Include some of the picture, not a lot of it, just some of the good content, and then all of the checkerboard. Okay, so everyone should have a selection around the extreme right-hand side of their image. Can I assume everyone's there?
Yep.
Okay, silence means consent. So you're all good. Now we'll go to edit in the menu. Content. Well, actually, there's two ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the better way. There's one way that does this where it doesn't give you any options. It just does it. The problem with that is if it does it and it does it wrong, there's no way to say, well, I don't like what you're doing. It just does it. So you have to undo it, and then you'll probably end up doing it this way. So I'm going to show you the way I would prefer to do it. This is the way I always do it because I have more control. So edit, Content Aware Fill, click on that. And what it does is it brings up a screen and it's showing you how it's going to build your pixels for you. Now you'll notice on the right-hand side here, you see my hand? It's actually done a great job. This is the sample of what it's going to do. We haven't accepted it yet, so it hasn't done it. It just says, if you say, okay, I'm going to give you this. And if you look at the far right-hand side, it's fixed the window, it's fixed John's, I assume daughter or daughter-in-law, her shoulder and her shirt, and it did a marvelous job. Now, if it didn't do a good job, it's likely because this green area over here, it has, the green area is the area that it's using to build the missing pixels. And if too much is in here and it confuses Photoshop, the easiest solution is to just come in and remove. I just clicked on that area and I'm removing it. It's deleting the green. Now I didn't have to in this case because it actually did a good job of building the content we were looking for. There. So I created a problem now. So if you notice, I deleted too much of the content and it's messing up the content aware fill. So now what I want to do is put back some of the green. So right now you'll see inside my circle is a negative. That means erase. But if I press the Option key, I get a plus. And now I just color back in the content. And you'll look over here again, and it's done a marvelous job of rebuilding the lady's shirt. I'm going to remove that off the child's face. Has everyone done that and have a screen that actually has a good looking shirt and the right side of the image looking somewhat good?
Yes.
Okay, so click the OK button. So you'll notice a couple of things. Number one, the marching ants or the selection is still there. So I'll show it to you on the menu. Select and deselect, and the marching ants disappear. You don't want them there anymore because the image has been repaired. You could have pressed Command D to do the same thing. You'll also notice the content aware fill created a new layer. This is non-destructive. If I take the eyeball and turn it off, which basically means don't show this to me, you'll see what was originally there. So I'm working in a non-destructive manner. I did not change, I'm not changing my my raw file, and I am not changing my base layer, which is why, back to you, your original point, Celia, having two of these would have, all I would have done is doubled the size of my file because I'm now carrying two images that are duplicates of each other. So don't really need to duplicate that in this case, unless you're making changes to that, which I strongly suggest you do not do, because then you're changing. It's hard to undo something once you change the pixels on the photo. Generally, always work in layers. So
thank you.
Okay, so any questions at this point? So we used content aware fill to build part of the image, and it almost always does a great job.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Sam, because this has happened. If you can't answer it, that's fine. It might be a too advanced question. I've done this numerous occasions, but I will get sometimes a very thin line that shows up. And I don't understand why I get like almost like a paper thin like line where it's joined the two new.
Did you overlap? You should always overlap at least 4 or 5 pixels into the image, and then you won't have any lines. If you just go straight where the the blank side and the image meet, there's a good chance you're going to get a line.
Okay,
that's why
so that's
I
what
overlapped.
okay, got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And it basically creates a, I won't say feathering, but it just makes it a cleaner blend.
Okay.
Okay.
Good stuff.
So,
thank you.
No problem. So we've done the crop, we've done content aware fill. All right, so we're going to do another content aware fill, except this time we're going to go to this thing that it's called the polygonal lasso. It looks to me, kind of looks like a chicken or a bird. So if you don't have that, click on the little triangle in the bottom and you're going to get a bunch of options, 3 options. I want you to pick polygonal. Okay. And all that's going to do is allow us to click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, and then come to the top. So I've created a series of straight lines to select around the range hood. Has everyone been able to do that?
Sorry, Sam, can you try it again?
Okay, so I'm going to stop that. So just click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. And then when you get to the point where you actually want to drag up and finish, I could just press enter and it finishes it for me. So I didn't have to go close the loop. Hitting enter closes the loop automatically. So you see your marching ants around the range hood. Anyone not able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Silence. Great. So edit, content aware, fill. Oh, my mistake. We have to be on this layer. We have to be on the main layer for the content aware fill to do its thing. All right, so go to the actual picture with all the pixels in it, and then go back to edit, content aware fill. And you'll notice it's done a fairly good job. We're just going to accept this. So click OK.
So what is the difference between clicking OK or accept?
Accept will leave you in that frame and just say, this is what I've done. And then there are menu items you can change things and continue to tweak it. That's far more complicated than we want to get into at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So OK actually builds a new layer and puts it back out there. Again, it's non-destructive because let's press Command D to get rid of your marching ants. Again, it's non-destructive because my eyeball shows that it's just on a layer. Okay, you'll notice it didn't quite get this part. So what we're going to do now is position yourself on top of the top layer, just like I did, and click on it. Then you'll see a little square down here with a plus. That means add a new layer. Always add. I have a ton of layers when I work, but again, I want to be very careful, and I want to be able to say, you know what, I didn't like that, and I'll just delete it. But if you put a bunch of things together in a layer and you say, I don't want that one element, but you have 9 elements you want to keep, you're snookered. So, you know, it creates more layers, but it gives you much more freedom in terms of discarding something when you realize you didn't really like what you did. So I'm going to click on the plus. And what it does is it gives me a brand new layer. And by the way, it goes without saying, you should rename all your layers so you know what they mean or what they're doing. And to do that, just double click on it and then just type in, I'm going to be lazy and just type in GGG. But the point is, you should really name all of your layers so that you know what their purpose in life is. I'm not going to do that for this session only because that's just one more thing that will slow us down. So I've created a brand new layer. There's absolutely nothing in it. We're now going to go to this little icon here that looks like a purse, and it's the spot healing brush. What the spot healing brush does is very similar to what John did in Lightroom, whereby when you heal something, it picks the spot it's healing from and to. unlike in Lightroom where you saw those little circles and you could move them around, you don't have that luxury with this particular tool. It'll make a decision, and honestly, 85% of the time it makes the right decision. If it doesn't, I'll show you another way to do that. So
Do we
unlike
have anything
Lightroom-
selected right now, Sam? Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry,
Or
John.
nothing-
Sorry, Jim.
Should nothing be selected at this point?
I haven't even clicked on it. I'm just pointing to it. So
Oh, no, but I mean in the marching ants in the picture.
Uh, you have marching ants. You shouldn't have any.
Okay.
Command D.
Command D, got it. Thank
Okay. Good point. Good question. All right. So you see this where it's slightly discolored here? We're going to try and make that so that the blend here is not as harsh because it's going from a light tan to a dark tan. So I'm going to go to this little thing that looks like a suitcase and I'm going to click on it. And I'm using a soft brush. So my hardness, I just clicked on this little circle here. There's two ways of doing this. Well, multiple ways, but there's two ways I use. I use this menu, I'll click on the brush, and then I'll set my hardness to 0. I want everyone to use a very soft brush. And the size, well, this is probably the right size, around 60 pixels. All right, so that's one way of doing it. I almost never use that way because it's just slow. What I do is I do Command Option, keep those two. When you're on your picture, I press Command Option, and then if you right click with your mouse and drag left, you'll change the diameter of your circle, which is your brush. And if you drag up or down, you'll change the hardness of it. You'll see the numbers changing in my box. That to me is far faster. I do that on the fly. I can, adjust both things very quickly at the same time. So again, it's Control Option and then right click and you'll see this appear and you just move it. Other than that, if you want to change the size of the brush, left bracket makes it smaller, right bracket makes it larger. If you want to change the feathering, shift, left bracket, right bracket. Okay, so there are numerous ways of doing this. This particular method is my preferred way because I see it right on the screen and it's much faster. So I'm going to make my brush a little smaller. We've clicked the purse, the spot healing tool, and I'm going to make this a little smaller. And I'm just going to do that to it and just color it in and let Photoshop do its magic. And it's blended that quite nicely. So I will show you in my layer. Here's the before and here's the after. So you notice how that's very softly been gradiated from a darker color to a lighter color. So was everyone able to do that? You do the spot healing brush, you just color it in, and Photoshop's artificial intelligence takes over and does everything else. It picked the spot it copied from, it blended it, it did everything automatically, complete autopilot. If that doesn't work, then we go to plan B.
Yeah, that didn't work too well for me. It didn't really do anything.
Did you color in enough of it? So you've got the purse selected, the spot healing.
Yeah.
And then you just color it in and let go.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look like it did much.
If that doesn't work, you see the one right beside it, that's the healing brush.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is a lot closer to what Lightroom has, except you're still doing the work. So we're going to click on that. I'm going to show you the other way since we're here. The healing brush. Now you come here and what you're required to do is say, all right, instead of Photoshop deciding what it's going to clone in, I have to tell it what sampling area to use. So to do that, I'm going to go from, let's say I want to copy from here and I want to move it up here. So what I have to do is position myself. I'm going to put myself right on the line so I have a starting point. press the Option key and click. Nothing happens. All I've done is I've said, that's the reference point, Photoshop, for you to start using when I begin the next part. So now I move my mouse and I'm going to color in again. You'll notice as I color, there's a plus, a big plus and a small plus. The big plus is where I'm copying to. The small plus is where I'm copying from. That was when I clicked the Option and pressed the right mouse button. That was the reference point I told Photoshop to use in order to now copy. So I'm just going to do that.
Option on the Windows would be what key?
Alt key.
Alt
key. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, whoever answered that. I'm not a PC user, so I when I get asked those PC questions, I get stumped. So again, the Option or Alt, click, that's your sample area, let go, then move to where you want to put that in, and then just start coloring it in. And you'll see two spots. A little cross is where you're getting it from. The big cross is where you're putting it to. Okay. One other thing I should mention, make sure you always have current and below up here. Because if you have layers, which we do, we want Photoshop to be able to see everything in all the layers as it's copying things. If you only had, sometimes it might come up and only have current. And if you don't have anything on your layer, you're not working with anything because Photoshop is only seeing that one layer. So if things don't work for you, make sure you have current and below checked or set. Okay. That mistake catches me a lot. So that's why I mention it. So has everyone been able to get rid of the range hood? We've gotten rid of that side on the thing there on the side. Now we're going to get rid of some of the spots in the child's mouth. So what I'm going to do is zoom in. I'm pressing Command plus to zoom in. I'm really anal. I want it to be big. And now I'm pressing on the space bar and I'm using right mouse click and I'm just moving the image down a bit. Has everyone been able to do that much?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to go back to our little suitcase, the spot healing. You're going to resize your circle to something a little more reasonable. And you're just going to draw over top of the shiny objects. And they're just going to go away. And if they don't go away the first time, a second time, we'll do it. So I'm just getting rid of all the little shiny stuff in the child's mouth. There you go. Good enough for me. Has everyone been able to do that? So we're using the spot healing brush, which is everything's automatic. All you're doing is saying, Photoshop, take care of this, please. What I've colored in, fix it. Do your magic.
Sam, I have a question for you. Sometimes when I'm trying to do what you're doing in Photoshop and I've created a new layer so I can do that cloning, I will get, or healing, I will get, when I click on an area, I will get a message from Photoshop saying it can't perform the operation because it doesn't have any pixels to choose from.
Don't know the answer to that one.
Okay.
In this case,
I do. It's because you're not on the right layer.
yeah, you have to select layer with pixels. So the layer which you want to fix, not this blank layer, which
you may want to click, see here, it says sample all layers. Make sure that's checked on.
Okay.
Because then you're seeing all the pixels.
Okay.
All right, so now I'm going to add a new layer. So click on the plus. I believe I forgot to click add a new layer for this, for the mouth. So we probably did a bunch of things in this one layer, which is not what I typically do. So let's fix the eyes as John had done. So we're still on the spot healing. So Let's take out the little shiny things in the eye. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 in the left eye. And we're going to do the right eye exactly the same way. All right. Has everyone removed all the spots?
No, actually, even before in the mouse, I could not do it.
Really? Have you clicked on the spot healing, the one that looks like it's got a handle? It looks like luggage with a handle.
Yes.
Okay. Your mode is normal. I'm looking at the top here. These are all the
Yeah.
instructions the command uses. By the way, in Photoshop, every time you change a command, so just keep your eye up here, and I'm going to change an icon. You'll notice this area changes. So when I go back to the spot healing, it's this menu are all the instructions that particular icon uses. So you should have normal, content aware. Make sure you're using artificial intelligence to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And sample all layers.
Okay, I don't have sample or layers. Okay, maybe that's why.
I think I had the problem
That's-
earlier too here.
So again, Hugh, if you don't have sample all layers, it's only using the one layer you have, which is empty, so it's not going to be able to do its job. You'll almost always want sample all layers for, and by the way, this sample all layers appears in a number of these. So if something's not working, I can guarantee probably 80% of the time, the culprit is the sample all layers. It just seems to be the fix that fixes all problems. So, okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to do cloning. Oh, sorry, did somebody have a question?
Yeah, this is Lucy here. Quick question.
Lucy.
Yeah, hi, Sam. Mine doesn't work as well. Can I just a quick check? On the top, when I click that little spot healing brush, mine is like a normal, content aware.
Yeah.
And the next one is create texture. And the next one is proximity match.
Right, you don't
And
want create capture or proximity match turned on. They do different things. We're trying to clone.
Okay.
So you only want the gray box on content aware. And then
Where? Okay.
and then the check box with sample all layers. That's
that one.
sample all layers is the extremely important thing.
How do we
Right.
turn off that create texture and proximity match, Sam? Like they're both up at the top with mine as well.
Right.
I have no idea how to turn it off.
Just click content aware. It's one or the other. It's
Okay, gotcha.
you can't have you just select one and the other two will go away.
Oh, gotcha.
But even I select, it still doesn't work.
Do you have any marching ants on your screen?
Do I have what? Sorry.
Do you have any selections or dotted lines anywhere?
No, I don't.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure you didn't, because that would be one of the reasons.
Mhm.
I don't honestly know.
Yeah.
Maybe we can take
So-
that offline and Lucy and
Sure.
we can look at it.
Sounds
Okay,
good. Okay.
so the next thing we're going to do is John had done, you see the right eye, sorry, as we're facing the child, so it's the child's left eye, as I see it, the right side. There's the window in the eye. We're going to clone that now. So we're going to use the clone stamp, which is, you can get to it by typing the letter S as a shortcut or clicking on the clone stamp, which looks like a rubber stamp you would have used back in the old days when many of us were in grade school. So click on that. And this one works with the option key where you sample something, just like you did with the other. Remember, we used this command here, it looks like a purse without a handle or luggage without a handle. This one works very much the same way. So we're going to come over to the area. We're saying, what do we want to do? Well, we want to copy that. So I'm going to say, well, I really want to start right here in the corner. So I'm going to option, and you'll see it looks like a target that's shown up, and just click. Nothing else, nothing happens, but I am setting a reference point. Now we come over to the other eye and you see my little, I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see it. You start to see a bit of what I just referenced. That's the window in the other eye. You're starting to see it. So you say, well, okay, I want to start copying. So as soon as you click and start to drag your mouse around, actually, make sure your opacity is at 100 and your flow is at 100. All right, and then come back and do what I just did, and you're going to paint in the window. So let's do that again. I'm going to delete this and we're going to start from scratch.
What's the size of your brush there, Sam?
It's 15.
Okay.
All right, it has to be a reasonable size, not too small, definitely not too big. So again, I'm coming over to the corner where the window is in the eye, option, click, nothing. You don't see anything. You think, okay, is this silly thing not working? Well, it is, but you got to do part 2. And that's now moved to the other part of the eye. And first off, if things don't work for you, it's probably because you have something like I did, and that's either your opacity or flow, which I'll explain in a moment. Those numbers were too low. Make sure they're both at 100%. Come back to the eye and then just draw it in. And you'll notice on the other eye, there's a little cross, the big cross, the little cross. The little cross is what I'm using, my source. My big cross is where I'm putting it, or my target. Okay, so that's cloning, clone stamp. Has everybody been able to do that?
Nope.
That sounded ominous.
Hmm.
I'm going to get rid of those little things. I must have deleted them by accident. There we go. There. Okay, so go back to the clone stamp. So has everybody been able to clone stamp that into the other eye?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, let's do it again. So I'm going to clone stamp it onto the other side of the eye simply because I don't want to lose my first change, and I'll just delete it. So it's going to look a little silly, but that's okay. So I move my mouse to the window in the eye. So on the child's left eye, I press down on the option key and click. Take your hands off the mouse, stop. Has everyone done that? At this point, all we've done is we've set a reference point. We set the Photoshop. This is where I want you to start when I tell you to start copying. But you haven't done anything, and Photoshop is not going to do anything. Has everyone done that? Okay, so now move your mouse to the target. And now click and just draw. Okay. And if you happen to draw too much, which I notice I did, you can actually erase that. So you go to something here that looks like an eraser, and it's called erase. And I believe the command is also E. So I'm just going to type E. And I just erased part of the window, which I went beyond the boundary of it. I just got rid of it. So there you go. And it's on its own layer, so I can turn the eyeball off and on. And because it's on its own layer, I obviously don't want two windows inside of the child's eye. I'm going to delete that one layer. And no harm, no foul for me as an editor. Any questions so far on that? Now we're going to do...
I absolutely cannot do it, but when I click on the stamp tool, it says no tool preset defined for current tool. So maybe that's where it comes from.
You have to click on the Alt and click on a place you want to copy. Alt and mouse click.
Yeah.
Yeah, now move to
Yeah.
the another eye.
Yeah.
That
Then
plane.
move and then start drawing it in.
And that does not work.
Hmm.
So there's
Okay.
one setting which is not good on my.
Hugh, again, we'll take that one offline. I'd have to actually see what settings you have on your screen. You know, right now I'm kind of flying blind in that respect because I don't know what the settings are. So let's move on, and we can take that one offline. So there's two people I have to talk to offline. So the next thing we're going to do, first off, we don't want this big bold screen, so we're going to say Command 0, and it quickly brings us back to filling the screen. Okay. We're going to now get rid of, I'm just going to use this. Don't do this. This is just me trying to illustrate. So we're going to get rid of this area where the marching ants are, the extra ear. So don't do what I just did because that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is use content aware fill again, but we're going to have to do a selection because we want it to be very intricate. We want it to follow the contour of the pajamas, the child's face, and the edge of the window. So we need to give it instructions as to where to do this, because otherwise it's just going to make a mess. So we need to create a selection, but I want to use Photoshop's AI intelligence because I'm lazy and I don't want to go around and trace around the complicated contours of the child's body. So we're going to use, does everybody see a square box with an arrow? And it's called the Object Selection Tool, and the shortcut is W. If you click this, you're going to get the tool show up. And what I want to do is up in the top, for me anyway, it says rectangular in mode. What I want is I want to pick lasso. So has everyone picked the tool and selected lasso? Anyone not there yet? Okay. So again, to make it easier to work on this, we're going to go plus a couple of times just to help us visualize where we want to work. By the way, if I hover, you'll notice it's made the child pink. That's the artificial intelligence saying, oh, I got this. I'm going to select this for you. Well, no, because it's selecting the child and the mother's ear. So it thinks everything is peachy keen and nice. So we're going to have to tell it, no, you're not quite there, artificial intelligence. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to draw, just watch as I do it. We're just going to draw along the edge to help it, and then down the side, then down here and across. And you'll notice I'm not being overly accurate. I'm just giving it a sense of where I want it to try and figure out what to do. And now it's thinking about it and says, all right, well, it's still not quite smart enough. So I'm going to come back in. So right now it's created this area and this area. So it's got two distinct selections, but it missed the whole ear. That's not covered. So I'm going to come at it again. There we go. Well, actually, it missed a little section down here. So did everyone see what I did? I just traced around the area that I'm trying to target. And the artificial intelligence said, oh, I detect the distinction from this object or element to that element, and I'll create the lines there for you. So had I tried to do this by hand, it would have taken me a whole lot longer than what, 5-6 seconds to just draw a couple circles. So to date, so far, all we've done is we've said, this is the target area. Has everyone got something similar to what I have on my screen? Is there
Not
anyone? who-
yet.
Not yet? Okay. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Sam. I had to start over. So I have I guess the box in the box tool, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But how do I switch it to? How do I
Lasso?
switch it to a lasso?
Here up in the top, once you click on the command,
Oh,
and then in the top, there's a drop down.
jeez.
And it
Okay.
probably had, I forget what the other word
Had
was.
rectangle. Okay. Here you
Rectangle,
go.
right? So just click and switch it to lasso. Rectangle, you could do the same thing, except it draws a box. I want it to be following the contours of the child's face, so that's why I went to lasso. If you're dealing with straight lines, the other one would have been fine. All right, so let me know when you've got the outline similar to what I have.
Okay.
All right, so anyone want to venture a bet as to what command we're going to use? I've used it a few times already. Edit. Content aware fill. It's my go-to. Honestly, I use it more than any other command because 80% of the time it gets it right. So why would I spend a lot of effort, copying and trying to clone things when this thing can just do it far better than I can, except I made one mistake. You have to be on the pixel layer. So if you're on one of your other layers, and I make this mistake a lot, you will all make it a lot as well. So when you're using content aware, you need to be on the pixel layer. I just have this thing in my head. I keep forgetting that.
But
So
if you select all layers, would it work?
what was that, Alex?
If you select sample all layers,
I've
and
got
you
sample all layers.
and you do these things on a top
All
layer.
right, let's do it. So edit, content aware fill. And you get this because it's working with. But if I come down here, it's going to put it on a new layer anyway. But it did a horrible job because right. So here's right now, I'm going to make this smaller, Command 0. Okay, you see the green box? It's over top of the child. It's over top of the cupboards. But what are we trying to do? We're trying to replace this little ear part with the green on the wall and nothing else. So we can't give content aware all that to work with, because what it's going to do is it's going to create a mess, which is what we see here in the little picture. So right now you see my circle with a negative. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, no, do not use his face as a reference point. So take it out. I'm going to make my circle just a little bigger so I can get rid of more faster. All right, so remove it off the child because there's no way I want the child, any parts of the child to be used as a reference. As well, I don't want the window because it's got no business being there. So I will get rid of the window and I will just leave. Yeah, see how that does it. There you go. It's pretty close. I can fix that later. That's so minimal. So you'll see how the content aware just rebuilt everything behind the ear with very little effort. And all I did was take out stuff for it to stop using as a reference point. So I'm going to make my circle just a little smaller. Now I'm being anal. Let's see if I can refine this ever so slightly. Is that doing anything better? No, not really. Wasn't worth the effort. So all I've done is basically colored in this section and it's rebuilt using this green area and it's rebuilt the selected area. And it's because the marching ants are there, it's only working with that area of the picture. We had to put parameters in for it to say, work within these confines and don't go anywhere else. And then you click OK. And it's going to come back in a second. And it's not quite there, so we'll clean this up. So it's on its own layer. I do that. So it's let's say it's 80%, 90% good, but I want to get rid of this hair and just the edge of the ear. Is everyone at a similar point?
Mine didn't work for some reason, Sam, and I think, it won't allow me to go into any other layers. Like I'm stuck at the top layer, like on the layers screen, but it's kind of locked up. It's not, I see the marching ants and it like the green spots have come up in the eyes. I guess that's where it's picking the color from, but it's not allowing me to do anything. It's kind of like frozen. It's almost because I'm in the wrong layer or something. I'm not sure.
Can you cancel that?
Yeah, I think I probably have to start from scratch.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's doing it.
Okay, well, we're going to be doing this again in the next one.
Okay.
And the moose picture, way more challenging. So we're going to have to move on to that one because
Okay. All right.
And we're going to use content aware fill a lot. So anyway, I'm going to make this a little larger because again, I want to see what I'm doing. And I press down the shift key and mouse click, and I'm just dragging around. And you can see how it's not quite gotten everything perfect right around the edge of the ear, but that you're going to do what I'm doing right now, except you're going to be much pickier. I'm not going to worry about it. Go to the clone stamp tool. And then I say, I want to sample. So I'm going to say, I want to sample right around here. Click, nothing happens. Then I'm going to drag over and I'm just going to start coloring in. And then I'm going to stop, maybe pick my opacity. And I'm going to explain opacity and flow now. Opacity basically says if I'm at 100%, it's a straight copy. If I'm at 50%, as I copy it, it's only putting down 50% of the ink. So it's not as intense. So it gives me a chance to do it a couple of times to sort of build it up. Flow is like having a pencil in your hand and whipping it back and forth, back and forth. The more you go over it, the darker it gets. Whereas opacity, you can go over it 100 times. If you're at 50%, it'll never change until you stop and start again, and then it adds another 50%. So one is incremental, whereas flow is like a pencil. You just keep moving and it keeps dropping more ink or more lead. So I'm going to move my opacity down to say 30, so it's a little more forgiving. And I'm going to option click, sample, then I'm going to draw stuff in, option click, and it's advisable to copy from different areas so it doesn't look like you've cloned. Option click. It doesn't look like you took something out of another part and just made an exact copy of it. It doesn't look natural. So you always move around, take bits and pieces. Now for this one, I do want to go to 100%. I'm just going to 100%. And I'm going to click right beside that strand, option click. And I'm going to go over top of it and just go bye-bye, bye-bye. It's option click. All right, you can see how I'm just getting rid of it. I'm just using the clone. There you go, cleaned up. And I'm going to Command 0. I mean, you could blend it in a little better, but the point is we're 98% there. Any questions on that? Yes, no, maybe? I don't know if the silence is good or bad in this case. Am I going too fast?
No, you are excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Most of us are muted. I think that's why you're not getting
Okay.
like a response. So I mean, if people want to take themselves off mute and just go yes, yes, it'll help you know that
Okay.
everyone's kind of
Yeah.
there and listening.
all right, so the other thing that John did is he adjusted the brightness of the child's eyes. So we can try and do the same thing. So I'm going to make the window a little larger just so that I can see what I'm doing. And there are a few ways of doing this. Definitely this eye is darker than this eye. So we want to brighten up this eye. So I would probably use dodging and burning, in this case, dodging, because we want to make the item lighter. And there are multiple ways. There's a dodge and burn. Whoops. Hold on a sec. I just need to answer my phone. There. So there's a command here on the right side, if I can find it. Here's your burn tool, and there should be a dodge tool somewhere. Oh, it's in there. So dodge and burn. The problem with this is it's not as flexible as the method I'm going to show you, and that's by using a 50% gray layer. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an empty layer. So again, we just added a layer. It's got nothing on it. We're going to fill it. So edit, fill, and then the contents, we're going to say 50% gray and click OK. So just to review, we're going to add a brand new layer. It's blank. It's got nothing on it. So that's with the plus. You go to edit, fill, 50% gray, OK. Okay, and does nothing. What we then have to do is change its blend mode to either overlay or soft light. I'm going to use soft light. It's just a softer way to work. And again, you're not going to see anything yet. The magic happens when you add a brush. So if you want to darken, you use a black brush. If you want to lighten, which is what we want to do, you use a white brush. So you come to your brushes. I'm going to cheat and just type in the word or the letter B for brush. And you want to make sure that your brushes are set to black and white. And in order to do that, here are the two colors. Just click on this little picture right in the corner, and it defaults the colors to black and white. All right, and I want to be on white as the foreground color, so I'm going to click on this little weird looking arrow thing, and what it does is it just toggles the two colors. Now white is my foreground color. So has everyone been able to create a brush? We're not doing anything yet, but create a brush with white. So type in the letter B, hit this little thing here. I'm not sure what to call it. It's the reset button. And then toggle so the top layer is white. Okay, so we've got a gray layer, a white brush, and the next most important thing is your opacity. You want it to be very low. So let's say around, let's say 5%. I'm trying to get 5%, but there we go. Oh, all right, I'll use this. You know what? I'm just going to type in 5. There. All right. So I've got a soft brush. I'm throwing out very little ink with my brush. And and it's a white brush. So when you just come over top here and just paint, you're just dodging this area. So you don't really notice it yet, but can you see the difference now? I turn it off and on. I've lightened the eye. And again, you know, you're adjusting it to taste. But it's, in my eyes, it's a lot closer to the, you know, one eye is now closer in terms of color content to the other eye. So was that everyone able to dodge? Does everyone know what dodging is? I made a bold assumption there. Basically, lightening your highlights. You're lightening a color. Does anyone have any trouble doing that? I know there were 3 steps to it. We created a layer, we changed a grayscale layer, changed the blending mode, we selected a white brush, we changed the opacity to a very low opacity, and we started to paint in the dodging. Yes, no? All right. Okay, I'm going to press Command 0. And I think that's it in terms of editing on this image. So the other thing I like to do is I like to put all these changes into a group. And the reason being is then I can turn them all off and on together so that I can see the effect, and it compresses everything. Some edits, as you'll see in the next one, get very long. So having them in folders or subfolders makes for a tidier workspace. So you click on the first one, click on the second from the bottom, because that's where we started our changes. Press Shift and click, and they all get highlighted. Then Command or Control G on a PC, and it throws them into a subfolder. They're not gone, they're still there. I can expand it and contract it. But the beauty of doing that is one click shows you before and after. So there's the before, there's the after, before and after. That is your first lesson with this particular image. Any questions? No? Okay. So far I've noted I need to get in touch with Lucy and Jim and Hugh. Is there anyone else that was having trouble?
Sam, with this lightening eye in the range, does it matter what you select, shadows, midtones, or highlights?
No, with this one, you don't need to do that. If you're doing this version, where did it go? I'm looking for, okay. If you're doing dodge with this is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like using this method. It doesn't give you the flexibility that the other one does.
I see. You're using this additional layer, right?
Yes, I'm putting it on a layer. If I make a mistake, guess what? I can get a gray brush that's 50% gray, and I can color it back out, and it's like an eraser. I have much more forgiveness because it's on its own layer. If I overdid it, no problem. I'll change the opacity. And what I will do is I will start to bring back some of I will reduce the effect of it. I have much more flexibility when it's on its own layer like that.
Right.
Okay. So any questions on this image before we move on to the more complicated one? And I really make your brains hurt. Nope. Okay. So let's file open. Okay.
Okay, Sam?
Yeah.
You said that you would explain the saving mode in PSD. So what do you do? Why do you do that? And how does that work?
Setting mode in PSD.
Saving. To save the file.
Okay. All right. So let's assume I was finished. So file, yes. Save as, and then give it a name. Right now, because I crashed, it's recovered, but picture of boy.
So you're not obliged to save it to Creative Cloud. You could save it anywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tend not to save it to the cloud. I save it all on my computer because I back things up to the cloud automatically. So that's just the way I work. Everyone works differently, so I can't say whether that's going to work for you or not. But the format, make sure it's Photoshop. You have other options. And if you wanted to go back to a JPEG, you could save a copy and go back to JPEG. Why on earth you would do that? Because then you'd overwrite the original. You definitely do not want to do that.
Okay,
Probably.
so when you save, you do want Photoshop. So like
Yeah.
that, later on, you can go back to that picture and you can find everything that you did before.
Sure, we're going to do that right now. So you'll notice it's Photoshop. I gave it a name. Actually, you know what? Let's do this just to prove my point. What was the name of the picture? It was unnamed. It was. It's on my downloads. So it's,
Image 009.
well, for me, it's unnamed. Okay, so there it is there. You'll notice, I clicked on, I forced it to choose the word unnamed, and it's a JPEG file. But because my format is Photoshop, even though I clicked on the JPEG file because I was just too lazy to type in the name, it says, that's fine. You can click on the JPEG file. I'll give you the name, but I'm taking over and I'm putting PSD in there as the file. So I could not overwrite it even if I wanted to because my format is Photoshop. Even though I was dumb and went ahead and clicked on the JPEG file in the list. Okay.
So now you also have save a copy. Would there be any choice, or would you recommend save a copy?
But you have the original.
No, I mean on your screen you have save a copy. So I guess you have different choices there.
Oh, no. Save a copy. Okay, what Photoshop is trying to do here, and it's actually a smart thing, you'll notice in the drop-down, I can't pick JPEG because my file was a JPEG. So what people were doing is they were inadvertently doing all this work and then overwriting their JPEGs.
This is what I was doing. That's why I'm asking.
Right. So they took it out of the list. But then people started complaining, saying, but I want to do that. Why? I don't know. But if they do, they do. So they came up and they said, okay, well, we'll give you that ability, but we'll put it in here. So save a copy. And now JPEG shows up. Okay. I don't want to do this. But if you really want to do that, now this is going to overwrite my original.
So bottom line is what you are saying is never save. If you want to keep your original, never save as a copy.
Well, stay away from it. If you want to save it as a copy and change the format of it, that's fine. But if you inadvertently pick JPEG, your original's gone. So that's what Adobe was trying to protect you against. That's why you don't see JPEG in that list.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
They did it, and then everyone complained, so they had to create a second button to let you do it, even if you really wanted to. So they made it safe, and then they made it unsafe again, but they made it harder to be unsafe. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so let's go and do the moose. File, open.
Okay, we're gonna take just a little bit of a survey here because it's 9 o'clock.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
Yeah, surprise, it's 9 o'clock.
Wow.
And I just checked in on the other room and they actually took a little bit of a break. They were already done the first image and they were moving on to the moose one, but they took like a 5-minute kind of a snack break and a pee break and stuff. So it's up to you guys. If you guys want to continue to do the second image, then by all means. And if not, I mean, you're free to go. That's also up to Sam if he's got the energy to keep this up. Meetings scheduled. The meeting can run as long as you guys want, basically. But a show of hands, how many people still want to continue? And Sam, are you still good to go?
Good.
Or
how about if in order to speed the moose up, if we do continue, how about rather than having you work along with me, I just do it and explain what I'm doing. And then that'll give you some context of what and why I'm doing it, and it'll help speed it up.
Yeah, that's better.
Sounds good. Sounds good,
Sounds
Sam.
good, yeah.
Yeah, because
We can always watch the video afterwards too, right?
Pardon me?
We can watch the recording afterwards as well.
Yes. Yeah, so that'll help speed it up.
Okay.
Because this one, honestly, is going to take a lot more effort. And if we were all doing it, we would really move slowly. Because it's way more complicated than the first one. So do we want to take a 5-minute break?
No,
No? Okay, I'm good. I can keep going.
yeah, finish it
Oh.
fast.
All right, so let's go. All right, so the first thing I know, before we clean anything up, the first thing I want to do is expand the canvas, because you look at the very top here, the moose is touching the edge and he just needs, you know, say 10% more breathing space. Not he. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it more breathing space. So I'm going to go to my crop tool and I'm simply going to drag up and let's give it that much more room. Oh, close all rooms. That's not me.
Hey,
So
Sam, I'm going to interrupt for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have something at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So I've given you as the host. So when
Oh.
you guys are done, just close up and end the meeting, okay?
And what about the recording?
The recording is being saved on our on the cloud in our Zoom program.
But do I have to do anything special?
Nope, just end the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Perfect.
I'm glad.
All right.
We'll probably
Bye,
send a
Barb.
survey out for all you guys afterwards, just to see what you like and what you want to see in the future. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Bye,
All right.
Barb.
Bye. All right, so I expanded the canvas. What I did is I used the crop tool and I basically just dragged up into Never Never Land. All I'm doing is making my canvas bigger, but all you see is a bunch of checkerboard. Not a problem. We're going to click OK. Then I'm going to use the rectangular marquee. I'm going to come over and just highlight it. You'll notice I'm coming into the green just a little bit. I'm also going to get some of that, but that's okay. I'm going to get rid of that. And we're going to go into Edit, Content Aware Fill. And I'm going to say, well, you're going to create some more stuff up here, but you're not doing a very good job of it. And that's because you see too much of the moose. So let's take the moose out. We're going to take all the water out because there's no water up in the grassy area up top. So I'm just taking it all out. We're going to let the artificial intelligence do as much as it can. All right, let's see what it's able to do now. Still not very good. Well, actually, it's fine. That's just different. Let's see what it gave us. I can always fix that. There we go. So I'm going to Command D to get rid of the marching ants. So you can see there's a slight line right across here, which is what I think Barb was referring to. So I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to, first off, a couple of things. Number one, you'll notice the hump on the moose's back has a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mask, but I want a black mask. Oh, actually, let's add a white mask. So we'll just put a white mask on, and basically that says show everything, which is no different than what you had. Then I'm going to come into my brush. So brush is B, but I want to hide the grass out of this section. So I'm going to pick a black brush. So I'm switching it to black. I'm going to move my opacity up to 100 because I want the full impact. I'm Going to make my brush a little bigger. And in this area, I'm just going to softly put back some of that. Now you'll notice I went too far, so I'm going to go back to the white brush. So I'm going to flip it, and I'm just going to come in here and hide that checkerboard. There you go. So far so good. I'm going to do a little bit of it in here where I'm going to fix this. So I'm going to add a new layer. I'm not going to go and fix all of it. I can see a slight line, and the anal part of me would go in and fix all of it later, but I'm just going to come in with the spot healing brush, and right in here, make this brush a little bigger. Just color it in and let the IA, artificial intelligence, basically blur the white line or blur the line. So you can see, it's harder to see that there's a ridge. So you would just do that right across, more of that. So you would do that all the way across. We're not going to do that at this point. So the next thing I want to do is start getting rid of some of these branches. So since I'm already on the spot healing tool, I'm going to do some of the easy things. So I'm going to come in here, and between content aware fill and the spot healing tool, the IA really does a whole lot for you. Look at that. Just got rid of that brush. You would never even know it was there. You should put each of these on their own layer. I think I stuck. No, that was on its own layer. That's good. So come in here. I'm going to make my brush a little larger. Hide that. Did a little more trouble there for some reason. So if it has trouble, you just give it a second shot. There we go. It's getting a little better. Just keep hacking away at it. And that's how quickly it is to remove these things. I wish I could say I was doing all kinds of really smart stuff, but all I'm doing is coloring with black, and Photoshop is doing all the work. I can't really take any credit here. And if it doesn't get it right, just use smaller chunks. I find that generally does a good job. All right. Okay. Is there anything else that I can do here? That's easy. No. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is let's tackle this thing here. I'm going to make this a little larger. This one's a little tricky because we've got eyelashes. So let's see if this can in fact work for us. Now, the fact that I'm really zoomed in, you're going to see things that you wouldn't typically see when you are not so zoomed in. I like to work zoomed in so I can really see what I'm doing. Okay, move this smaller. See, then it starts to pick up, it picked up the wrong area. So Command Z. So this is where you probably want to switch to the other spot healing, just the healing brush, because now I get to tell it where to start to pick from, where to sample from. So I'm going to say, you know what, sample from here, and then start applying it here. That's probably, I'm not even happy with that. So I'm going to go with the clone stamp instead and sample. But I'm going to now come down and remove, I'm going to make my, remember I said flow means it's like a pen. The longer you rub something, the darker the color gets. So I'm going to say sample from here and come in here. And I probably use my flow's way too low. Let's bring it up. 27. It's not doing a very good job. Let's bring it up even higher then. You know what? Let's create a new layer. That's my problem. There we go. Oh. So you just have to really be gentle here and all right, and I'm going to pick some of these hair colors and stick them back in. Didn't do a very good job there.
We understood.
Okay. I'm going to leave that at that. I could spend much more time and try to get the hairs. This one's tough because of the hair, but let's go back to Command 0. It's not so noticeable when you're further away. In fact, I might just clone some in from there. Okay, so we got rid of that stick. Now, this big mama here. The first thing, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. First thing I'm going to do is, if you use the clones, or sorry, the spot healing, well, I'm just going to do it and then I'll show you why I wouldn't advise this. And you just do this. It gets confused because it's got greens and browns to deal with, and it makes a mess of it. So I wouldn't do it that way. What I would do is I would use the clone tool first. So we're going to go to the clone stamp, and we're going to copy a piece of this fur and put it over here, and creating a distinction between the stick and the green. And then the spot healing brush will have a much better opportunity to do the correct work because I've split the color. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, move it in. I'm on the clone tool. Again, I want to sample, so Option, click, and you'll notice I'm going to move it. I'm not actually doing it right on the picture or on the moose itself. And I'll show you why. So I'm just putting it there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it into position where I want it to be. So I've transformed it, Command T. You're just going to move it. All right, there you go. And you click check. So you're going to say, well, that looks kind of weird. Yes. But now what I've done is I've positioned it such that this command will now work much more successfully. So I've gone into the spot healing, and all I'm going to do is color it in, and it's going to be more successful because it's only dealing with one color. Boom. Now, over here, it's only dealing with this. It's not dealing with the fur. So, and I'm going to do this in smaller chunks. I should have created a new layer, by the way, at this point. I just realized I didn't. Yeah, it's not doing it. So let's go back to that. Let's create a new layer. Let's actually go back to this guy. Let's see what content aware fill will do. So edit, content aware fill. And we don't want any of the moose. This picture was a lot more challenging than the first one. Let me make it smaller so I can make sure I don't have any. I've got lots of green up here too. No, that's not green. Definitely don't want that stick. Yeah, it's doing a really poor job. All right. Okay, that one's not working. So we're going to now clone. And we'll go to the clone stamp. So like I said, this is not always a magic bullet, and I start with one. If it doesn't work, I move to the other one, move to the other one. Ultimately, I'll end up at the clone stamp tool, and it generally is my sledgehammer. So come in here. I'm going to move my opacity down to about 87. And basically it's you're spray painting in content. And again, I would advise you to move your source area around, because otherwise it looks like all you've done is cut and paste. So keep picking different areas. And I won't do all of this because whoops, I messed up there. I'm aware of time and I'm trying to move a lot faster. So so everyone get the gist of what I'm doing. I would just do that coming down. So for instance, over here, I'll clone some of that and just so anyway, let's go and get rid of this thing over here. So again, new layer, clone stamp, I'm on it. We want to create separation here, in here, and then the content aware fill, I think will work much better here when I did it. So sample. All right, I'm going to do a Command T because I don't think it lined up exactly as I had wanted. I'm going to move it. There you go. Check. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one. So I want a new layer. This leg, sample, come down here. All right, so I've created separation. I'm going to Command T just to move it a smidge. There we go. Enter, get my lasso tool or my poly, whatever it's called. So I can create a selection around here. Content aware fill. You start to see the repetition here. That didn't work. On that layer, edit, content aware. I told you I make that mistake constantly. Wow, it did a pretty darn good job. And I didn't have to do anything. So we'll accept that. Command D. So there you go. Now, if you want to just sort of get rid of any areas that might not quite look perfect, there you go. So Command 0. We've gotten rid of that. And we can do the same thing here. So let's actually tackle this one because I know I can do that one rather quickly. So you're starting to see it's rinse and repeat. It's clone, and then I use the various tools that help me cheat. So we'll new layer, clone, give it something that it can actually have some separation with. And I'm just going to put it on here. I give it a little bit of the green underneath, Command P, move it into place. That one's not quite a good fit. There you go. All right, and check. And let's use the content aware fill. Why not? We were having a blast with that, so. Whoops. There it is. Edit, content aware fill. Ah, I did the same thing. I forgot to put myself on this layer. Edit, content aware fill. Did it get rid of it?
No.
No, it didn't. All right, so Command 0. Let's get rid of the moose so it has a better chance at doing its thing. Like I said, sometimes they work perfectly, sometimes I'm always going to go this route first because it's a lot less effort than cloning and trying to do all that other work. So it's worth it.
No.
No, it's not doing it. I'm puzzled as to what it's doing. All right. You know what? Then we will take over and do it with the clone stamp tool. If it doesn't work one way, we'll make it work the other. Oops, man said. Am I on the clone stamp? Yep. Let's make sure it's on its own layer. And what did I just do?
Which layer you are on?
I'm on my, oops. I'm on my
New layer.
blank layer, yeah.
Yeah. We got the idea now.
Yeah, we're good. I'm going to stop here. So anyway, that's it. Rinse and repeat. Just keep doing it over and over again. And that's it. In the end, it's just repetition and trial and error. So any questions for me at this point?
No.
Sam, would you try to clone out or also get rid of the reflections of the sticks on the
Oh
water?
yeah,
or would you just
absolutely.
leave it? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So those two sticks also you will remove?
These, no, I'd keep those. I like those.
Okay.
But this stuff and that stuff, I would definitely move. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Sam,
and again, I would try content aware fill first.
but could you try this content aware and not from the menu, just select this stick and then go to fill and content aware fill. Not use the
Yeah,
way you
I know
did before. Select this stick, go to edit.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
Right
Alex.
now, fill, just go to
Fill
fill
content.
and content aware.
Yep.
Click OK. Oh, you are not in this layer again.
I know. I told you I make that mistake constantly.
Yeah, that's the message I was alluding to earlier as well.
So it still didn't do quite as good a job. There's one more, just humor me here for 1 minute. There's this command here, which is the, what's it called?
Patch tool.
Patch tool, yes. That didn't even work very well. No. Wow, I'm having a hard time. I did have much more luck yesterday when I was doing this, but it's not working very well right now. So I apologize. It's one of those things you just keep hacking away at it and you'll eventually get it. But anyway, I've taken enough of your time. I thank you
Thank
and
you so much, Sam, for
Thank you
taking
so
time for
much.
us.
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much. Great presentation. Thank you.
It
You're
was
welcome.
really
And-
helpful, Sam.
And at
Thank you
some
so
point, I
much,
would love to
Sam.
do the TK8 for.
Please, I will appreciate if you can do TK8.
No problem. And Hugh, Lucy, and Jim, we'll touch base over the next few days and see what your issues were.
Super. Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much,
All right,
Sam.
take care. Good night.
Thank you so much, Sam. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Really great
Bye.
evening. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.